I'll be doing a technical breakdown on EURUSD, EURJPY, and XPX500. So if you are just joining me, if you are new to the channel, kindly subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that whenever I drop a technical analysis like this, you don't miss out on these opportunities. So the very first pair on my list is EURJPY. So the trend of this market is to the upside. So price was creating higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and higher high, right? So the trend of this market is to the upside. But on the weekly time frame, price creates a chart pattern. So this was a head and shoulder pattern. So price creates a higher high around this region, creates a higher low, and then head back up to create a higher high. So when price creates this higher high, I was expecting a retracement back to the downside. So I was expecting price to create a higher low around this region and continue heading higher. So I was expecting price to get here and stop and then continue heading higher. But instead, price creates a equal low. So as you can see, this low is equal to this previous low. So price creates a equal low instead of a higher low. So this signifies that there is not enough buying pressure in the market to continue pushing the market to the upside. So after price create this equal low and then price push to the upside. So I was expecting price to push to the upside, like to create a higher high. So if price wants to continue heading higher, so price will need to put in a higher high. But instead, price puts in a lower high. As you can see, this high is lower than this previous high. So price puts in a lower high, and also this was clearly a head and shoulder pattern. So this was the left shoulder, this was the head, and this was the right shoulder, and this was the neckline of this head and shoulder pattern. And so now what I'm waiting for is, so price is currently at this left shoulder. So I'm expecting price to come back down to break this neckline. So this was the neckline of this head and shoulder pattern. So I'm expecting a break and retest of this level. So if I could get a clear break like this, if I could get a clear break of this neckline, so if price could break it to the downside, I will be expecting a retracement back into this neckline to short the market to the downside. So on EURJPY at the moment, so the direction of the market though is to the upside, but price is creating this chart pattern. So this was a bearish chart pattern. If a pattern like this form on the weekly time frame or on the daily time frame, price is likely to reverse in the opposite direction. So now what I'm waiting for is, I'm waiting for a clear break of the neckline of this head and shoulder pattern and a retest of the neckline. So if price could break below retest, then I will start looking for selling opportunity around this region. So on the monthly time frame, this was how the monthly time frame looks. So there was a trend line around this region. So this was the first touch, and this was the second touch. So I'm expecting price to come back down to touch this trend line for the third touch. So, and I think that's what is currently happening now. So if price could clearly break and retest this level, I will short the market to the downside. So I'll be expecting EURJPY to continue heading lower to this trend line, so to touch this trend line for the third touch. So if EURJPY can touch this trend line for the third touch, so this way I'll be looking to take profit from if I sell here. And if price gets into this trend line area, so I'll be looking for buying opportunities here, but that's going to be for another day. So what I'm just saying is that I'm expecting price to continue push it on the downside, so a clear break of this neckline and retest. So I'll be shorting the market from here to this next major level on EURJPY. So the next pair I'll be looking at is EURUSD. So on the monthly time frame, the overall direction of EURUSD have been to the downside. So price have been trending to the downside for quite some time now. So the overall direction of EURUSD is to the downside, right? So this was, and like I always said, for a trend line to be valid, a trend line will need to have a minimum of 2 touch. So the third touch is the one we are going to be using for a trade entry. So this was the first touch of the trend line, this was the second touch, and this seems like the third touch of this monthly trend line. So what I'm currently looking at on EURUSD is, so I'm expecting a sell-off from this region, right? So this, if we look at this trend, this was a clear downtrend and price retraced back to the upside. So when price retraced back to the upside, price went into a range around this region and price broke out. So when price broke out of this range, I was expecting a sell-off from here. So after price broke it to the downside and retest, I was expecting a sell-off if I go to the weekly time frame. So I was expecting a sell-off around this region for EURUSD to continue pushing to the upside, to the downside, and come back into this region. But that does not happen. Instead, price broke above and then start trading to the upside. So on the my last video, I talk about EURJPY when the market is still trading around this region, right? So I said I'm already in this trade, and the reason why I got into this trade is that just basically the reaction of DXY. So like I said, DXY is the inverse of EURUSD. So if EURUSD is trending to the, if DXY is trending to the downside, EURUSD will be trending to the upside. So and that's what happened. So I'm not going to go into depth on how I got into this trade, but I'm just saying that this is where I got into the trade last week, and the trade have already played out by now. So but what I'm saying on EURUSD is that, so this was the third touch of this trend line, and also a touch of minor resistance level. So this was a minor level, as you can see. There was a touch here, and also a rejection here too. So this more of like a supply zone around this region. So what I'm waiting for now is on EURUSD. I'm expecting a sell-off around this from here. So I'm expecting EURUSD to sell off from this region, and there was also a Fibonacci retracement around this region. So as you can see, price was inside this 60 and 50 Fibonacci zone. So I'm expecting a sell-off from here, and also for price to get rejected from this trend and then start heading back down. So that's what I'm currently waiting for on EURUSD. But on the daily time frame, the daily trend is to the upside. So the daily trend is to the upside. So this was a high, a higher low, a higher high, and a higher low around this region, right? And this was a higher high. So price daily and the forward trend is clearly to the upside on EURUSD. So this was a higher high, a higher low, and a higher high, and price is now retracing back to the downside to create like a higher low around this region. So for me to get into this trade, I will need to see a clear break of this counter trend line. So before I could get into this trade, first of all, I will need to see price got rejected from this level. So I'm not going to be using these weeks to enter this trade. I'm going to be expecting candlestick, like I'm going to be expecting price to get into this region, like for price to bounce off this level. So if I could see a candlestick rejection from this level and also a clear break of this counter trend line, so I'll be looking for buying opportunity after I'll be looking for selling opportunity after price got rejected from this level. So this was just weeks rejection, not really candlestick. So I'll be expecting candlestick rejection from here, and also a break of this counter trend line. So if price could break this counter trend line to the downside, I'll be looking for selling opportunity, and I'll be targeting this next major level. So I'll be getting to the trade after this counter trend line break to the downside, and also I'll be looking to take profits at this next major level. So if I could get a sell-off from here, I will take this way. I'll be getting into the this way I'll be taking my profits from on EURUSD. So I'm just waiting for the daily and the forward trend to align with the weekly trend and the monthly trend. So just for the if the weekly trend and if the daily trend and for this forward trend align with the daily trend, so I'll be looking for selling opportunity. But for now, I'm just going to be waiting for price to break this counter trend line and also get rejected from this level. So I will be waiting for further push to the upside. So this seems like a higher, as you can see, price came back down to the test this level, this minor level. So I'm going to be expecting EURUSD to continue pushing to the upside a little bit. So if price will push to the upside a little bit and then go rejected from this level, so I'll be looking for selling opportunity after price broke this counter trend on the 4-hour time frame. So the next pair I'll be looking at is XPX500. So this is where, so in my last video I talk about how I got into this trade. So how I think I got into the trade somewhere around there after price create. So this how, so price creates a double top pattern around this region. Let me delete this first. So this was a double top pattern around this region, and this was the neckline. So price broke the neckline and also came back up to retest it. So on the daily time frame, you can clearly see that this was a break and retest of this neckline. So price broke the neckline and retest, but on the weekly time frame, on the monthly time frame, the trend of the monthly time frame is clearly to the downside, like to the upside. So what was happening on XPX500 is just a retracement. So as you can see, this was a push to the upside and a retracement. So, and also this monthly trend line, so this was the first touch, this was the second touch, and now price is now coming back down to touch this trend line for the third touch. So what I'm going to be waiting for is, so this is clearly a help trend market. So this was clearly a bullish trend to the upside. So I'm expecting the XPX500 to come into this level, this trend line level, and also this minor resistance level. So there was a resistance level here. So I'm expecting this, I'm expecting XPX500 to come into this trend line to touch it for the third touch, and also this minor level. So if price could get into this area, so I'll be looking for buying opportunity if I could see a clear bounce off here. And there was also a Fibonacci around this region. So as you can see, price was clearly inside this 50 and 61.8 Fibonacci zone. So I'm expecting a clear bounce of this minor level and also this trend line and the Fibonacci. So price will be coming to this 61.8% Fibonacci and this level and trend line. So if I could get a clear bounce of this level, I'll be looking for buying opportunity to this next level. So I'll be looking for buying opportunity from here into this next major level on XPX500. So this where I will got into the trade on XPX500 on the 4-hour time frame. If price got into this level and this trend line area, so I'll be looking for buying opportunity to this next major level. So that's my take on XPX500. So if you find this analysis helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video so that others could see it. So that's it for today's video. I will catch you guys in my next video.